it's viewed on gems.
Yeah.
Your history.
Yeah, actually, I don't think I played it. Yeah. Right.
I could.
funny.
before that, he's like,
That's also new.
I saw that. Oh my god. You know, dude, I've yet to yeah, they don't exist.
oh, like a son get had. Well, literally, he's like, no problem. I fucking blow wires happen. Like, things are just selling bags and stuff. And then, like,
We start running and
yeah, he's like really excited.
Oh yeah.
What context did it talk to?
have you seen like those boxes, the commander players carry?
Yeah, the ones with the hardware.
Hardware store, yeah, they're worth our easily for bad.
Chill out, bro. Might be a commander player there too in the room, bro.
He's a prop with all about the
It's kind of funny though.
I play commander, bro.
He's the one that
I've played
We played Commander together. That's the only time I've
we
actually.
did play Commander.
That's the only time I played Commander. That's the only Commander.
I killed everyone with
I don't know, dude. You're like, I'll get
Power.
16. I'll go 16 to.
I did 40 to everyone.
I got 4.
It was like repeated like 7 times.
We're like, oh, neat. What a cool deck. We got skilled.
Now it's just like around the ring. You know, that kind of goes down.
I'm playing too far, so I need to have a win con.
You're just feeding me the whole time.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, no win con.
I think I would have won if I knew like, can't play Magic for it.
I mean, I'm sitting in the point sort of competitive.
Oh yeah, you would have never
It
got.
was just targeted.
Nah, you just would have never got that.
It would have ended.
Yeah.
Yeah. Turn
You're
3.
talking about competitive.
Isn't like
I know, dude.
isn't like
Yeah.
there's like some like
Yeah, because you only have to do. I think it's still 10 points.
yeah.
Yeah. There's like a dragon deck that like.
That's what you should play, DJ.
Modern. Oh, dude,
Yeah.
It'll
Bring
leave
you
you
10, you lose.
Mr. Alex, swing for 2. I started to play 4. What's that one card that's like plus 4? I don't turn cards. I was thinking like 4 health, 5. That card, the yellow one?
Yeah, you're talking about groundswell?
Yeah.
You don't even need groundswell anymore. You just play scale up. Scale up turns your 1/1 creature into a 6/4. And then you just pump it one more time. Yeah, with a groundswell.
I used to do like wrestling stuff back in the day, like I wouldn't do it now.
I think actually the impact deck now is playing they're playing black. They're playing black or Fire Think Crusader. Because Fire Think Crusader has protection from I forget what color it's called. It's two colors, like white and black. It's a black creature.
There's some white stuff. You get 3 elements. Yeah. So
You don't get mine.
I don't get your cold one. Yeah, you pull that.
Yeah. Let's go, dude.
Yeah, speaking of, I got a bunch of tokens. If anybody needs any tokens for their deck that they do not pull and are not at this drop table.
Are you playing Sleepless today?
Nah, today when it's 5 card bubbles, I'll leave them. But
That's my
No crack.
no card bubbles.
Poor guy.
Nah.
Like, look at him.
Oh, it's funny because when you walk by in the draft, like you went thumbs up, thumbs down, and I was like, let's go.
And then I'm still watching. He's like, I'll come out for 4. And you're like, no blocks. He's like, alright, I'll come by 3. Then you're like, Healer's Mitre. 1, 2,
4
3,
crack
4.
bubbles.
Dude, when you were like getting it,
Well, oh yeah, all
it
non-blocks.
was 2 bobbles and 2 Phoenix Flames.
Yeah.
It's just like, guess I'll die.
It's really good.
Oh, this card only has matchup.
Alright. You should have went to the Wii break. Right. You think AJ would have loved it? No.
Did you love it, Ryan? Would you have had a good time with Best this month with you?
Yeah, probably.
Oh yeah.
How many-
If literally anybody would have loved it.
Except Best this month.
On that chain. Yeah. Usually they have things that work on that chain, but after that chain, you have to
we didn't even know phones used to be connected by wires.
No way. Crazy.
Yo, hot line? Whoa.
He's playing
First song after card.
Uprising is literally a 2-card combo.
Oh, I know.
And sealed.
Call me out, bro.
Sounds limited. No. Can't play
Yeah.
this card.
You play it.
I don't know how you're gonna get it all.
Wouldn't. You can have it in the deck.
And it's not even a
The
top.
fact that it doesn't want it wild.
It's like not even a top. Yeah. First Phantasm.
You know, because it's illusionist. Not because it's phantom. It'd be funny if they made a phantom card that's not illusionist. I thought they'll do that in a way. You know how Magic is like card things that you would never expect out of a certain color identity.
Yeah, I'm sure we like to
Why?
Yeah.
It does more arcane damage than normal. It already does a bunch of arcane damage. What more so?
The Emperor. I can't really
Hate their wildfire. All of your rune traps deal 5 more damage.
It doesn't work though because you have
If you go on their turn. Yeah, but how often do you that lets you pop your yay?
Oh, do you furnace like Kana? Like smack just like with your path priority, like smack it into wildfire. I had Arcana Crackle in hand. That bumps all the Arcana damage. Pretty neat.
Wait, wildfire works on both players?
Thanks for that.
Yeah,
It says
but
Arcana
it's-
damage.
Wow, it does. It says all arcane damage as well.
But yeah, I'll take it. Yeah, whatever.
Like, alright, I'll put my
Show you?
I'll put my 0, 3, and 7 at you.
It'd be funny too if it's like,
They did that one. They made it work. Because they did that one and they did the illusionist one too. They copied it all over.
they wildfire you on your turn, and you already played a non-attack action, and then you just hit them with 3 snapbacks. Oof.
What do they kill you on the back?
Then he's
They're
done.
free snapback.
Yeah.
They got snapback. And they're like, I'll snap back. And they're like, I'll snap back. You snap back.
Just bad again. Get better. Learn Blitz.
Yeah.
I wish I was a pro player, so I would play
Learn Blitz hard.
You're good. So hard.
You're good. Like, what's his name? UK's Max Channel. Your boy, not Fox. His boy Fox was like, why are
I don't care about that.
he's like, why are people complaining about Blitz when Uprising draft format is horrendous?
Yeah. It's not bad. It's an average.
It's an average.
Oh, outside help! What's going on here?
This is tier 1 event.
I'm just commenting.
Yeah.
You don't want to know it.
On the same level as Mark.
You're not commentating there.
Not the same levels of learning as I
Oh, look. Another 5. Dude, did you 5 years on there?
Actually, the biggest skirmish one he did was 7.
It was 8. I got 7. No, you gotta cut it off. Yeah? I should have asked him before we started doing all this before I paid the money. How does the format work again?
Sealed.
Okay.
You're gonna play 4 rounds. Do a top 8 draw.
There you go.
Really impressive. Because, that's like, I didn't know like a bad part was.
You alright with all that? You should have chorused Festus in the stage. What do you want? Oh, did he?
We release every year, like
know how people may have udders.
Yeah,
The udders on it.
Yeah. I think the udder's right giant middle and then it has four that goes on top of it. Yeah.
What's up, Abby? You wanna play some Blitz?
No. No.
You wanna play Blitz, bro? Let's practice.
Yeah, you're over actually. I'm not in this.
I'll need all that time. As of this moment.
Yeah, it's just Alex and Rob, I think.
Rob calling my Rob. Yeah, Rob. Yeah, that's what it is.
Constructed.
Constructed.
Yeah, it's very close.
Let's do all that national. Which is not going to. Good stuff in it. Probably give us a baby bottle.
Hey, but don't you want to pay like $50 extra to go to the players meeting Thursday night?
We have to pay $50 for this?
Non-local.
What? Really?
Qualified for World.
No, I get that. But they're
charging this time,
We weren't even supposed to be out of the CFP yet. We were supposed to be.
Oh, interesting. I was happy you guys got it. I didn't eat anything, so
I ate a lot.
I didn't eat a thing. I was boycotting. I was boycotting. You know how I feel about James. I'm not gonna say it here. It's
No,
public.
I have.
You know how I feel.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Alan Hale, that dude's a G. I like him. He's not really doing right by me in the past. I got other problems.
Yeah, we need population.
Oh, you're just gonna play him because you got a legendary, huh?
Oh, he didn't want to yet.
I don't know. I don't know. It's unforgettable. I'm sure we could muster one up for you somewhere. Lighter.
Fires.
And he like almost, he starts cracking up.
Play red, get blues, get red. Play reds on your turn, blues on their turn. It's pretty much the strat.
No, it's like the back, the block for inside of the back. Ryan, did you buy those frog knives?
No.
No?
Alright, round 1 is paired. It's PJ versus Alex LeBloom, Josue versus Ryan, Nick versus Josh, Alexander versus Matt, Jamie versus Eric, Dawson versus Spencer, and Tom versus Alejandro. And on stream, we would like Jamie and Eric. Eric's only gonna move one chance.
Am I? Am I? I'll be that guy today. Ooh la la la. Oh, come on, bro. I want to see you now. Give him 10 minutes to build a deck. Jump in. Yeah. Come on for skirmish? Is that League of Legends? Building with a little
I need like toxic games where, oh my god.
See, I don't give a fuck about my rank, so I can just play League of Legends.
Flesh and blood around time. 35 minutes, starting now. Flesh and blood tending, running time. 25 minutes, starting now. Here are your timers. Good luck on your stream, buddy.
Thank you.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Haven Skirmish event. Super excited to bring this event to you guys. Looks like we have a lot of fights to bring to you. This is a sealed skirmish, so it's going to be all the Uprising heroes. We just have we can choose between 5, we can choose between Dromai, we can choose between Icelander. We did have 14 players here for our skirmish, so it's going to be 4 rounds cut to a draft of top 8. I'm very excited to bring that draft to you guys, especially. We'll definitely have, someone in the booth talking about the draft as that goes down. But this is round number 1. We have Jamie on the left-hand side playing Fi. We have Eric on the right-hand side also playing Fi. Going to be a lot of Fi mirrors in the sealed portion, I believe. I think the general consensus in our community is that Fi is just a little too good in the sealed portion. So it's going to be a lot of this event, or a lot of this hero in Skirmish, in sealed. Let's talk a little bit about the Uprising of Skirmish. I'm very excited to see how our players the Uprising is pretty cool. You get top 8 each gets a cold foil hero. They can either get a Fi or a Dromai. And then every player here, I think everyone's gonna walk away with actually 2 of the silver token, but I could be wrong. But yeah, everyone participant gets at least 1 silver token. And here we see Jamie blocking as much as he can. Turn 1, you definitely want to do that. The player that goes first. So there's a slight echo. There are 2. There were 2 microphone sources, so I appreciate that. It should be better now. So as you see, you definitely want to block as much as you can turn 1. I think that's why the player going second actually gets a little bit of an advantage. The turn 1 player can maybe arsenal a card or something like that. But definitely the turn 2 player gets that first crack at actually dealing damage through their hand. We see Jamie burning up the quelling slippers already. Eric just going to draw back up to 4. Jamie also going to draw back up to 4. Now, one thing is Eric did not actually get to arsenal a card. So not arsenaling the card means that little advantage you get for going first. Not so impactful this time around because Jamie was actually able to block all that damage. And Jamie's going to start his turn with a Brand with Cinderclaw. This is a red version, so it's 3 and go again. It's going to turn that next attack, no matter what it is, into a Draconic card. Draconic attack, that is. Really important for the Emberblade. Not just the Emberblade, sorry. Really important for Fi's ability. Fi's ability says for 3 resources, you get to activate it and pick up a Phoenix Flame from your graveyard and put it in your hand. Whereas, and it also costs 1 less for each Draconic chain link on the chain. So, Brand with Cinderclaw can kind of cheat a little bit more Draconic chain link so that you can activate that ability for just a little bit less. And here we see the Engulfing Flame Wave. This is one of the strongest cards. It is a rare out of Uprising, so you're not expected to see too many of them in a draft. This one is coming in for 5 and go again. I do believe so. Engulfing Flame Wave says for 2 resources. If it hits, you can reveal the top, or look at the top card of your deck. If it's an attack, you can play it. This combat chain, I think, is something like that. So it definitely enables a lot of really intense combos. You can get really punished for not blocking it. But of course, we know in the Fire Mirrors, they don't want to block too much. They just want to trade haymakers back and forth and kind of only block when they have to. Eric kind of in the tank a little bit, just really trying to think of what to block with. He does have that Brothers in Arms, which can get buffed to 4, but you do have to give up 2 cards for that. And even then, that 4 doesn't really stop any of the damage. What he could do is he could block with a Brothers in Arms, buff it by 1, and then if he pitched another card that was multiple resources, could quell the last point of damage so it doesn't hit. Jamie's just going to attack for 1 here with the Phoenix Flame, just to put as much pressure on as possible. And that's going to be the turn for Jamie. Played it out his entire hand. Not too bad there. Was able to get 6 points of damage, and Eric going into his turn with only 6 cards. If you're Jamie, that's something you really want to see. It's not so much how much damage you can do, but the fact that he was able to get all those cards out of Eric's hand is a pretty big point, right? So, and we see Eric kind of starting his turn with just a Dust Runner Outlaw. Hey, Brandalorian, what's poppin', man? What's going on? Thanks for hanging out with me today. Jamie gonna take that 4 damage and just move on to his turn. He says, I have way too much damage to come back at you with. We see that Rising Resentment coming in for 1 and go again. Eric gonna take that. Jay Lockwood subscribed for 10 months. Can you believe we've been out here for 10 months since you've been watching the stream? James. That's pretty awesome, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. 10 months, almost a whole year sub to the channel. Let's go. Searing Emberblade coming in for 3, just with that really good weapon. It's a good rate, 2 for 3, not too bad on a weapon all the time. Pretty much has go again, as long as you've played another Draconic card this chain link or this turn. So gonna activate Fi here, gonna get that free point of damage off the Phoenix Flame. Eric going down to 7. And we actually have the attack reaction to pump this to 4. Eric has to take it all. Now, if you're Eric, you really need to see a pretty good turn here. You need to catch back up somehow. The Dust Runner Outlaw is going to come in for, I believe, 4 and go again. I don't think we're going to see a lot of blocks on Jamie's side of the field unless we have to. Jamie is in a position now where he should be able to put on enough pressure to pretty much empty Eric's hand. Especially anything that doesn't have an on-hit effect. I don't see Jamie even like considering blocking. This is a really strong turn so far though. We have 4 into 4. So a Dust Runner Outlaw into a Blaze Headlong. Blaze Headlong is just a 4 go again as long as you've played another red card this turn. We see Eric's going to come in with the sword for 3 damage. He does have 3 Draconic Chain Links now, so he can Phoenix Flame if he wanted to. Yeah, it looks like Jamie's going to let him know, like, hey, you can throw another point at me, so good sportsmanship there. Again, this is a skirmish. I definitely recommend that to anyone listening out there. If you go to a skirmish, these are kind of meant to be introduction to competitive events in general. And good lad, Jamie. Absolutely, yeah. These are kind of meant to be like, they are still competitive, but they're kind of supposed to be that first tier, like get people like introduced into Flesh and Blood competitive level of play. Again, that's why most of the time it's sealed in Blitz, though I know Blitz kind of has a lot of controversy surrounding Blitz right now in terms of being part of the Worlds format, but typically Blitz is used for those more casual formats, casual games, and so just be mindful of that when you guys go out to your events. You know, we're trying to be welcoming, trying to build that community up. I like to see that good sportsmanship like we just saw there. So now we see Jamie actually playing the Inflame. Because he's played on the red card this turn, he actually gets to pick up a Phoenix Flame out of his graveyard. And now he's going to actually come in for 2 damage again. Because of the Heat Wave buffing the Phoenix Flame by 1. Eric not in lethal range yet, though he probably is thinking like, oh no, what if there's one of the attack reactions that could buff this and I could die. But if Eric decides not to, so it looks like we're going to see a Quell for 1. So now he's at 3. Looks like Jamie has the 4. Go again. This one has an on-it effect. I believe this is the one where you can banish a card and it costs 1 less. That being said, Jamie doesn't actually have any cards in hand, I believe, so I do think this is going to be it, except for maybe another Phoenix Flame. It does have go again. Jamie did activate the Heat Wave at the beginning of the turn, so yeah, we see the Brando Cinder Claw actually gonna block for 3. Take 1. And then of course a Phoenix Flame for 2. Unfortunately for Eric, he does not have, he might have 1 more Quell left, so he can go to 1 and actually keep a card in hand. And it looks like that Burn Away, right? So he does have 4 damage available to him. He's probably gonna just go Burn Away pass, but that Burn Away does threaten lethal, so it's gonna get at least 1 card out of Jamie's hand. And if Jamie's hand is like not the greatest, depending on what Jamie has, in his hand, you know, the throwing a card in front of this might not feel too good. But again, Eric's on 1, so every attack will get another card out of Eric's hand. Right. So the Rising Resentment will be the card that is chosen to block with. And we're going to see the Brand with Cinderclaw. I do believe this is coming in for 3. So Eric will hopefully have a 3 block in hand to not have to give up 2 cards for this. But I do think the only one that maybe is the Brand with Cinderclaw. I don't remember exactly how much it blocks for. I do think it was 3. I know most Phi cards actually only block for 2, and that's kind of one of his weaknesses, if you can call it that. So where if you can get to the point where the Phi does have to block, it gets really inefficient. Eric kind of giving that that hand another inventory, so to speak, just kind of seeing what, if I could hold on to 1 card, what do I want that 1 card to be? Do most Draconic cards block for 2 or 3? Most Draconic cards, I believe, block for 3, and I think most of the Ninja cards specifically block for 2. I could be wrong about that. I want to say they do block for 3, though. In between rounds, I'll pull up the card gallery, because... Actually, hold on, let me see. But yeah, I do think they block mostly for 3 for Draconic specifically, but then the Ninja cards are really pretty inefficient to block with. And you see here that he has to block with an Inflame and actually Quell this as well. So that Inflame was only blocking for 2. The nice thing about this Quell and pitching a blue is that the Phoenix Flames are effectively turned off this turn because he can just Quell it. And yeah, we're just going to see Jamie actually Arsenal and pass. So Eric has 1 card in hand. Let's see what he can do with it. It's just going to be an Ember Blade, but you know the Ember Blade does the same thing it did last turn where it's coming in for 3 damage. And so Jamie has to respect it. He has to give this up. He has to give up at least 1 card for it. And we're actually going to see him give up the Uprising. The Uprising does block for 3. That's a Majestic for sure, and that's that will block for 3 there. So here we see Jamie's turn. This might be kind of the last turn of the game. We do see him coming in for 5. And wow, that's a pretty efficient use of the Helios Miter. So he's going to pitch for 3. So he's still giving up 2 cards, but you know, he does pump with the Brothers in Arms to give it a 5 block. And then we're going to see 3 attack. So we're going to get at least 1 more card out of Eric's hand. Oh, he got a Scar for Scar. That's scary. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's going to be the end of the game. So Jamie does actually take round 1 there. That's kind of a... I mean, good job to Jamie. That's kind of how these 5 mirrors are going to go until we get to the draft portion of the event. It's a little bit of a no blocking until you have to. Then the game slows down a lot when they're both within that lethal range. Usually one player can try to hold on, kind of keep the boot down, and not allow a window for the other player to kind of respond. Eric did his best with a lot of, you know, when Jamie was on 4, he came with a 4. When Jamie was on 3, he came with a 3 to get just any card out of his hand that he could. But in the end, it was just not enough because Jamie had that advantage of being able to put on that pressure and keep the pressure on. So yeah, I'm excited to get to that draft portion especially, but we do have 3 more rounds of sealed. So 3 rounds of sealed into a draft single elimination for top 8. Should be a lot of fun today. Stick around. Make sure you share the stream around. I kind of need to. It's been a while since we've streamed, and to be able to stream a skirmish is a huge privilege. So let's just make sure we get as many people as we can in here. I'll try to get a little bit more animated for future rounds. Just kind of getting back into the swing of things. It's been a while. Still have to remember all these Phi cards. You know, a lot of them are very similar. Draconic Ninja guy swinging a sword is the card art. Like a little bit of variation. So that's going to be fun. And let's get to the Be Right Back screen. We're going to go to round number 2 very soon. Stick around and make sure you do share this around. Hopefully round number 2 isn't too far away. I think almost everyone in this room is playing Phi. So yeah. What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to Alright, so that sure got rid of the echo. So welcome back to round number 2 here at the Haven Skirmish. Super excited to bring this one because it is not a 5-year. I was expecting to do 5 years until a top 8. But we actually see Matt on the left hand side. He is on Dromai and Tom is on Phi. So hopefully we'll get some pretty fun gameplay out here. See if Matt, maybe he pulled some crazy dragons he wants to summon on this one. Maybe pulled some good rakes. So it should be a lot of fun to watch. Not sure who's going to start us off, but both players draw up. Let's look at Matt's equipment on his side. He does have the Sash of Sandakai, very strong. Also, the arm piece for Illusionist is really good in this format. Tom's going to start with the brand with Cinderclaw. I do believe that's a blue one, so that would be for 1 and go again, making that next attack Draconic. I will not stand for this gameplay commentary tardiness any further. It wasn't tardy. I was waiting. I gotta wait for round number 2 to start. But yeah, so Brand with Cinderclaw coming in. Do see a checklist card in Matt's hand. Not sure which dragon that's gonna be. We actually see him activate the Sash already early turn 1. That does have Quell. One of the reasons to do that is to get that early Ash token. Yeah, Ryan is actually playing today. I think he's actually on Dromai as well. We'll see if Tom can sneak in a point of damage here. He does go for 1. Will Matt take the 1, or will he give up this dragon in his hand? Looks like he really wants to hold on to it. Really wants to summon that dragon next turn. And that's going to do it for Tom's turn. You know, he did sneak in the point of damage. Matt is going to lose the arm piece. He does have the option to crack it and make that 1 Ash token a Ashwing. The only thing is right now he only has 1 Ash token. So if he uses this Ash token to summon the Ashwing, he would lose that Ash and wouldn't be able to summon the dragon in his hand. At least not without some extra steps first. So now we go back over to Matt's side, the Dromai player. Starts the turn with 1 Ash token. We actually see a Sift. You don't see this card too often, too much in the sealed format. This does look like a red Sift. He's going to put 2 cards on bottom, so he does get to draw 2 new cards here. Maybe looking for a little bit more resources. See if he got what he wanted. I do see a Dunebreaker Centipi. We're actually going to pitch that. And we're going to play our dragon down, see which one it is. It's actually an Ovia, but the interesting thing here is the Ovia does not have the ability to summon an Ashwing. Ovia is a very interesting dragon if it gets to stick around. On summon, it will create an Ashwing from an Ash, and then at the start of every turn, it turns another Ash into an Ashwing. But right now, it's just a 1/6 dragon. Matt is going to swing with a Dust Up. This is 4. There is no go again. However, if it hits, you can create an Ash, and you can turn that Ash into an Ashwing. So it's kind of helping build the board a little bit here. He's going to try to make Tom get into an awkward spot where he has to give up some tempo to actually deal with the Ashwings and the Ovia. The one thing that Matt is having an issue with already, we can see, is that his Ash generation, you know, he's only had the 1 turn, but it looks like that he hasn't really been able to generate enough Ash to kind of keep this sustainable. The Ovia is going to be a little starved for eggs, if you know what I mean. She doesn't have the Ash to keep creating babies every single turn. So Tom having to decide whether or not he cares about this Dust Up and just how much. He's thinking about blocking here. Maybe his hand isn't as strong as he'd like it to be to ignore it. Still having to decide here whether or not he wants to block. The benefit of blocking here is you save not only 4 damage, but you also save an Ashwing, right? And an Ashwing is a little bit of tempo swing. It's something that you'd have to target if you want to get rid of it. We do see Tom has a flex in hand. If Matt had decided to attack with Ovia, Tom could have blocked with the flex and pumped it to trigger Phantasm and kill the Ovia, but we don't really see Ovia attack too much. Usually she's just there to spawn Aether Ashwings. See a Brand with Cinderclaw coming in for 3 damage, coming in at Matt. 3 damage, you know, again, this Brand with Cinderclaw being free and having go again has just been such an instrumental card, even though it's basically a head jab with an extra effect to make the next attack Draconic. But really just, it starts where a lot of cards in Draconic wants at least 1 red card played. And this Brand with Cinderclaw just fits that bill so well, being free and red. So 3 damage, go again, coming in at Matt. Matt having to decide how high do I want to keep my life? Do I think I can get to a point where Tom doesn't have the firepower to really kind of come in? At a certain point, if Dromai's pitching a lot of red cards, then you kind of get to this point where the Dromai has more reds at the end of the game, and so their deck is way more threatening compared to most other decks where if they were pitching blues, they're only coming in with their blue attacks. So we see Matt take the 3 damage. Then we go into the Engulfing Flame Wave, I believe. I'm sorry, the Mounting Anger. Mounting Anger coming in for 4 damage. Says when it hits, if it hits, you can banish a card with cost less than the number of Draconic Chainlinks you control, and then play it, and it gains 1 attack. And we see Tom banish the flex there, so it costs 0. So it's actually a pretty good rate there, 0 for 5 off the Mounting Anger. Mounting Anger probably one of the strongest cards of those, like 1 cost. If it hits, banish a card and do a thing. I think that's just a really strong card. And here we see a strategic planning on Matt's side. It actually takes a card from a graveyard and puts it on the bottom of a deck. Really interesting card against Fi, getting rid of that Phoenix Flame, saying like, hey, you're not going to have that Phoenix Flame in graveyard. Now Matt is actually able to generate some Ash here. Able to use that Sweeping Blow, pitching a red, actually netting 2 Ash. Then we have the Mounting, Rising Resentment, I believe. No, the Breaking Point. Yeah, Breaking Point is an interesting card too. If it's played at Chainlink 4 or higher, it actually is a 1 for 5 Command and Conquer, in the sense that it will destroy an arsenal. Destroy their arsenal if they let it hit. However, it does have to get that Chainlink 4. Otherwise, it's just 1 for 5, which is pretty good rate on its own. So Tom here has a full 4-card hand and an arsenal. See what he can do with it. Into a Phoenix Flame, oh wow, we're just gonna go search that Phoenix Flame that Matt had just ripped out of Tom's graveyard. So another 3 damage go again. And because Matt actually threw that Phoenix Flame into the deck, it's actually able to search it right back out. That Flame Call Awakening, just such a good card. A lot of times finding those Phoenix Flames can be a little bit of the challenge for Fi, and the Flame Call Awakening is just a good, I mean, it's the way to search it out of the deck, and it just doesn't seem that difficult to really trigger its effect. I think you just have to have played a red card this turn. Yeah, if you played another red card this turn, you get to go search a Phoenix Flame, which is sometimes harder for the deck to find. So we actually see Tom close the combat chain here, and he's playing an attack that says if it hits, you actually pick up a Phoenix Flame out of your graveyard, and that attack gains go again. Stoke the Flames. You don't see it too much in Constructed, but it is a 1 for 4, which isn't the worst rate. And it has a decent on-hit effect, kind of making your opponent like have to decide how they want to block this, you know. So we see Matt actually block with 2 cards, making it so it doesn't hit. Not gonna have to worry about the Phoenix Flame. Matt only actually having an Ovia and a Burn the Maul. Burn the Maul, kind of an interesting card here. It's gonna do 1 arcane damage. Yep, so Burn the Maul is an aura that stays on the field and says, first time a dragon attacks each turn, deal 1 arcane to your opponent. I think it's a great card in Constructed. It's a little slow in the limited formats with the lower health pools. And then at the end of the turn, you have to put a raise counter on Burn the Maul, and then you banish a red card at the end of your turn for every raise counter. Otherwise, Burn the Maul does leave the field. And we see Tom actually start his turn with a Dust Runner Outlaw. It's going to be 3 damage and go again. Yeah, Dust Runner Outlaw. 1 damage. The red is 4. This is the yellow 4/3. Just another good starter card for the Ninja class. You just need something with go again. Then we have a Lava Flame Loyalty? Lava Vein Loyalty. Lava Vein Loyalty, 3 damage, go again. Again, it's a head jab. It says if you control at least 2 Draconic Chainlinks, Lava Vein Loyalty has go again. Because Lava Vein Loyalty itself is a Draconic Chainlink, as long as the first one was also Draconic, which it is, it will have go again. And Tom finishing up with a 4 damage attack. Threatening lethal on Matt. So Cinder Skin Devotion here. Coming in for 4. Gonna block, take 1. So Matt kind of trying to play the long game here. He's actually gonna play have Ovia activate, make an Aether Ashwing. This will actually trigger the Burn them all again. So coming in for 1 and 1. Tom does not have a way to break this Ashwing, and if Ovia were to swing, he does not have a way to break that either. We do see an Oasis Respite and a Quelling Sleeves to try to stop some of that damage. You know, the 1 Arcane and the 1 Physical from the Aether Ashwing. Tom starting his turn with a Rise from the Ashes is going to pick up a Phoenix Flame out of the graveyard. Then the next attack is going to be buffed by 3. We have Dust Runner Outlaw, I believe, is actually coming in for 7 damage. So Dust Runner Outlaw being buffed by the Rise from the Ashes. Tom was able to get a free Phoenix Flame from his graveyard into his hand from the Rise from the Ashes. Duster and Outlaw coming in for 7. We see Matt block with a Dunebreaker Centipede and an Oasis Respite, blocking all 7, gaining a life because he's lower, and because he pitched a red, he's going to trigger that Dromai ability and gain an Ash token. Tom coming in with the Searing Emberblade, coming in for 3 damage and Go Again. Has Go Again since it is the second Chainlink, Draconic Chainlink or higher. Tom actually able to keep throwing those Phoenix Flames out at Matt. Matt doing everything he can to hold on, kind of holding on to these Ash Wings. So on Matt's side, he's just going to start his turn with an Aether Ashwing. Coming in for 1-1 again, just pinging as much damage as he can. I could see Tom maybe taking this. Going to 3. He does have an awkward hand in the sense that he has a Scar for a Scar that will not get Go Again since he is at higher life. And there's no way for him to get lower. Not that he'd want to go to 1 or anything, but unfortunately for Matt's side, it is not the most threatening thing. So Tom could decide to take this, keep all the cards in his hand. The Aether Ashwing does not have Go Again since Matt was not able to play a red card from his hand. Yep, Tom deciding I'm just going to take all 2 of it. We have 3 raise counters. Looks like Tom might actually be activating Fi on his opponent's turn, which you're actually able to do. It is an instant. We don't see it super often, but it's another way to maybe cheat out a Phoenix Flame if you already have like a mostly free hand. It could be like an extra point of damage. So it looks like Tom is actually going to start with his with a flex here. He is going to buff it, so it's coming in for what I think is 4 damage. I do believe that Tom's boots can actually be used on this to give it Go Again. Otherwise, I don't think he would have started with this play, or he would have blocked more in the last turn. So it looks like he's going to use the Tide Flippers to give this Go Again. Matt has to decide here exactly like how he wants to block. He has to try to keep himself alive as much as possible. Looks like he's just going to block with a Dunebreaker Centipede. Tom is going to give himself Go Again into the next attack, which is a 5 damage attack with Go Again. Matt going to drop 2 dragons in front of it. That is the turn for Tom's side. Maybe a little window into hope here. Matt was able to keep 1 card in hand. Did allow Uvia to make the 3rd. And we do see the Scar for Scar red. Is this 4? This is 4 damage coming in. Does Matt actually have a window here? He's going to get at least 1 card from Tom's hand here. And then he has 4 more damage threatening on board with 1 Arcane. Interesting turn of events here. Tom's gonna, if Tom can live this turn and basically keep a decent turn in his hand, there is a chance that this is kind of the last gasp for Matt here. Having that red Scar for Scar and being able to keep it was pretty huge. Do see a bunch of block 2s in Tom's hand. Tom really in the tank here, really thinking what he had, like what is the best cards to give up here. I think every card in Tom's hand actually blocks for 2. Something Tom can consider here actually is the fact that he does still have Quell available to him. If he can pitch a blue for Quell, he can stop most of the 1-pinks for 1 card. If Matt is able to walk away with this victory, that will be pretty huge and pretty impressive, considering just how aggressive the fight has been, and Matt not giving up, holding on to that 1 life. That Oasis Respite was also pretty huge. That did give him an extra point of life, which is turning out to be the difference maker at 1 life left. Tom really in the tank here, really thinking exactly what cards he wants to give up to make sure that he stays alive this round. The one nice thing, if you're on Tom's side of the field, is all the damage is face up. There are no cards left in Matt's hand, so you do know what's coming. So if you can math that out properly to maybe take as little damage as possible. One thing you are worried about, if you are Tom, if you have to give up your whole hand to this and you give the Dromai player an entire hand, they can put out so much damage so fast, especially with the dragons they do have. Anything like a Dunebreaker Cenopai or something like that, or even a Sweeping Blow, just a red kind of card that lets you go off and lets you keep going, could be the end for Tom. And this Burn Them All has actually gotten a lot of use too. If you think about how much is a free card worth, is it worth 3 or 4? Kind of like a Scar for Scar being free. He's already dealt 3 damage here, so, or attempted to deal 3 damage with it. So pretty good rate. We're gonna see it come in for 1 and 1, and this is where I was gonna say we're gonna see the Quell. So it should be 1 Arcane, 1 Physical. 1 Quell can stop both of it. So 1 Quell can stop both of it. I think the question here is whether or not, if the source is the dragon, then isn't the... Then how does the sourcing work in terms of Quell saying it stops 1 damage from a source? So because it's a triggered effect, it's kind of like a... It's kind of like Rune Chance, I believe, where it's like a separate event of damage, so... So Tom had his own Scar for Scar, which is going to be pretty huge here. If Matt doesn't have a red card to turn on his dragons, which I don't think he does. I think I see a Draconic card in his hand, but I think it's one of the finisher cards with Rupture. So unfortunately for Matt, I don't see that red kind of starter card to make it so that all these dragons can swing and really threaten Tom and really threaten lethal here. Kind of an intense ending here. It's been back and forth. Both players are kind of in that lethal range. Whenever you get the Fi to start blocking, that's usually a good sign that you have a shot at the game. But again, I really would have liked to see Matt actually draw that red starter card. I think the rake in his hand is actually a blue. He's going to have to give up 2 cards to this no matter what. Does give up 2 there. Tom going to draw his 4. And Matt, again, I don't think has... Oh, maybe that is a red rake. It is. And maybe the trade-in was red too. Yeah, he actually was able to draw 2 off there. I didn't see that at all. I thought the rake was blue from the angle. And if Tom doesn't have a way to pop this, I think Matt might actually have a way to kind of force a lot of cards out of Tom's hand. Tom doesn't have a way to really block the Arcane efficiently, so he's going to take the one... Oh, actually, I take that back. He's going to Helios Miter. I don't know if you want to Helios Miter the Arcane. I don't know if that's worth it. We actually are going to see the Helios Miter block that point of damage, so now Matt has another 3 dragons. I think I'm on Matt too. I think I... Oh, he actually swings with the Ovia. He is going to get another card out of Tom's hand. That's a pretty good spot to be in if you're Matt. 1 card in hand. And able to keep the Burn Them All on the field. This Burn Them All has been super clutch. And all Matt needs to do now is just block this to live and swing with a dragon and the Burn Them All Arcane. I think unless Tom has an Oasis Respite, we'll end the game. Tom needs exactly Oasis Respite here. He has another red rake. Pitching a red. Getting another ash. Matt, I think, will walk away with this one. Just swing one more time, and I think the Arcane is enough. No, he does have an Oasis Respite, but I don't think it's going to be enough to get around all the dragons. And a dust up. Matt will walk away with this one. What a great game to watch. I was not expecting that. It looks like Tom jumped out to that early lead. Matt was kind of on the back foot, but he was able to cling onto that last little bit of life for so long and have so much advantage with the Burn Them All. Burn Them All won this game. I really do believe that. I think that was a clutch play to keep that card and then able to just stick the dragons on the field. The Ovia put in so much work. That Ovia was on the field, I believe, turn 1 and just kept popping out dragons. Then the 2 red rakes to able to swing the game. Matt going to 2-0, I believe. Tom dropping to 1-1. Again, it's a little rough because top 8 will make into the draft, but they are also playing for seeding, which is important, especially when you get to choose. If you're drafting Icelander, you definitely want to be that top seed because you get to pick who goes first. And if you're Icelander, you're definitely always going to pick that you go first, get that first arsenal. That all being said, I'm going to throw it to the Be Right Back screen. I'm excited for round number 3. Round number 3 of 4 of Swiss. Let's go. Welcome back to round number 3 here at the Haven Skirmish. We have another Dromai and Phi game for you. Super excited for this one. Always super excited, especially when it's not just a mirror of Phi and Phi in a seal. So we do have Dromai and Phi. We did see the Dromai able to hold on last game and actually took that game on a hell of a grinder, to be honest. Super excited to see what's going to happen here. Is the Fi able to put on a lot of pressure here with the Ronin Renegade right off the bat, coming in for 3 damage and go again? PJ did opt, I don't know if he opted to start first, but he is going first here. He does have the Sasha Sandakai and the Tide Flippers, probably 2 of the more important equipment. Of course, the Heat Wave. Don't sleep on the Heat Wave, but unfortunately it doesn't look like PJ was able to pull it. So coming in for 3 damage and go again right off the bat. Looks like Alexander actually has a Phoenix Flame in hand, so that's one of those things where unfortunately it's not able to block. But Alexander taking the 3 on turn 1, you know, that is super interesting. I guess he's worried about what else can come next. Now we have a 2 damage attack Brand with Cinderclaw. Alex gonna have to decide whether or not to block this one. You know, it's turn 1 still. We actually see him block with the Skittering Sands. Skittering Sands is one of the cooler cards that Droma has access to. Turns one of those Ash into an Ash and gives it a buff based on the color. However, it is being used to block here. Just blocking 2 damage from that Brand with Cinderclaw. Looks like PJ is actually going to have to pitch a card here. He's going to pitch a blue, swing that Searing Emberblade for 3 damage and go again because of all the Draconic Chainlinks. That will allow him to pick up that Phoenix Flame for free with Fi's ability. Another 3 damage attack. It looks like, if I had to guess, I do not think that Alexander's hand is actually that blockable. I do see what looks like a Vincerakai. I could be wrong, though. And then another, like a Dunebreaker or something along those lines. Unfortunately for Alexander, he did not pick up the arm piece for Dromai, which I think is pretty instrumental in getting that early Ash and maybe even getting an early Ashwing. We're actually going to see him activate the Helios Miter. He's not ready to give up those cards quite yet, and also wants some Ash tokens. Does get some Ash right there. So Alexander did actually take 6 damage turn 1, which is not really what you want to see. But one of the cards in his hand was a Phoenix Flame, which is unfortunate to see right away. So now Alexander actually has 2 Ash to work with. So that is one benefit of using the Helios Miter. He does, again, have those Ash to actually do something with. If he wants to summon a dragon, maybe play the Skittering Sands. We're actually going to see a Vincerakai. Vincerakai is a pretty intense dragon. It comes in for, it is a 6/1. And it says, if it hits you, it deals 3 arcane. So that is a 9 damage swing on a dragon. Now, if PJ has a pop on in his hand, something with 6 attack or more, he can break this dragon with Phantasm, and unfortunately that would be pretty devastating for Alexander. It would be a pretty big loss considering he took a lot of damage to try to get to this dragon. It looks like the Vincerakai is attacking, so we have to decide whether, like, how we're gonna block. If you're PJ, you're staring at this dragon, you're like, what in the world? I'm getting hit for basically 9 damage. I'm not used to having to block this early. I don't want to go to 11. So PJ actually deciding to block with a Brothers in Arms and no Racers for Spite, pretty much blocking all of that damage there. Vincerakai really putting in that work there, so now PJ is going to have to deal with it. We actually just see him pitch for the Searing Emberblade into the Vincerakai. Says, hey man, I don't want to deal with this dragon anymore. It does way too much damage. I am ready to get that off the board, move on. Alexander actually looking at his hand, it doesn't look, it's funny, it doesn't look that Dromai-y. It's kind of a, he does have a burn away, which will be 4 damage and go again. I do believe he played the Phoenix Flame earlier, so if he has that Phoenix Flame to burn away, and then he can Blaze Headlong, and then pitch into the Dunebreaker Centipede, that's actually a pretty intense turn there. Oh, and don't forget that he still has that 1 damage dragon too to ping a little extra damage in there. I think that's definitely where we start here. We definitely start with that burn away. Getting rid of that Phoenix Flame. We don't really need it anymore. We're not 5. We're not going to be picking that thing up out of our graveyard anytime soon. But instead, we are actually just going to pitch 2. Maybe we wanted some Ash there. I do think we should make 1 Ash off the burn away. And we're just going to come in for 6. You know, no Phantasm, nothing tricky. And PJ is just going to take it and go down to, I believe 7 is the correct number. I thought it was 14 to 13. So yeah, should be 14 to 7. So 14 to 7 here. PJ going to start with an Uprising. That's pretty terrifying on the other side of the field. Into a Mounting Anger, I believe. Oh, into a Rising Resentment. Rising Resentment does say when Rising Resentment hits, you may banish an attack action card from your hand with cost less than the number of Draconic Chainlinks you control. If you do, it costs 1 less to play. So right now, he only has 1 Draconic Chainlink, so it would have to be less than that if this were to hit. And the only thing less than that is going to be 0 already. So not the craziest thing to start with. However, it is still 4 damage and go again. 4 damage and go again. You know, PJ can definitely threaten lethal on this turn. 4 from the Rising Resentment. 3 from the Sword. Probably a Phoenix Flame in there. So another 3 damage on the Sword. or actually 4 damage from the Uprising. Uprising does, I believe it says the next 4 Draconic Chain Links you control gain +1 attack. So yeah, that would count the sword as well. Coming in for 4 damage. It looks like we're going to get a Phoenix Flame out of the grave with that floating resource. This would be a 2 damage Phoenix Flame. Uprising putting in that work. Does PJ actually have a kind of a finisher card? And it looks like we're just going to finish off with a Brand with Cinderclaw. Brand with Cinderclaw probably only coming in for 2 damage. Not enough to take a card out of Alexander's hand. Now Alexander has the goal of getting as many cards out of PJ's hand as possible. When you go down to 1, can another Dromai be another Phi at 1 life? Last game we saw a Dromai hold on to 1 life for dear life and was actually able to hold on with a Burn Them All in their hand for so much value. We see the Billowing Mirage come down. It's going to create an Ash because we pitched the Phoenix Flame, and then we're going to turn one of those into an Aether Ashwing. We do have 2 Aether Ashwings and the Billowing Mirage itself coming in for 3 damage. Right now we have 5 damage on board. We need to find another 2 to threaten lethal. Should PJ not block this attack? I would agree there. If I'm PJ, I'm not blocking a 3 damage attack without a non-hit at that point. I do think Alexander has the Blaze Headlong in his arsenal. Does play it there. 4 damage and go again. Another red card. 4 damage, go again. Draconic Chain Link. This 4 damage is already threatening lethal. PJ going to have to give up 2 cards to not die here. Alexander can start swinging with Ashwings if he wanted to. He can get to 4 Chain Links. He is going to swing with both Ashwings here. That gives him 4 Draconic Chain Links. Rupture is live. This is a really rough spot for PJ. It looks like he might have to give up every card in his hand. Something that a Phi does obviously not want to do, but something that Phi can do is kind of wait for their turn, for their opponent's turn to stumble. If for whatever reason Alexander did not draw a red go again card, it could be that his turn is very anemic. But we're just going to see a red rake instead of the breaking point. So the red rake is actually going to go up to make it go up to 3 Ashwings, and 3 Ash, and then he can create 3 Ashwings out of it. So we actually go up to 5 total Ashwings. And now that is enough to again threaten lethal and get the last card out of PJ's hand. He's going to block one of them, take 2. And now PJ is just going to have to draw pass right back into Alexander's turn. And if Alexander has a red go again card and PJ does not have something to break Phantasm in his hand, that could be pretty devastating. I do see a Billowing Mirage. I'm not sure on the color. The issue here is I think I see a Dust Up and a Billowing Mirage. If that Billowing Mirage is not red, then unfortunately we don't really have a starter card to kind of turn on these dragons. And right when Alexander thought he was in the driver's seat, might be having the rug being pulled out from under him a little bit. Yeah, that's a yellow Billowing Mirage. Now it's still 2 damage and go again. And he's going to create an Ash because... Yep, he's going to make an Ash because he pitched a red, and then he's going to finish resolving the Billowing Mirage, turn that Ash into an Ashwing. And we're actually going to Oasis Respite. Now, we shouldn't gain the life because we're actually even. So, yeah, Alexander just giving him a heads up. Hey, we're actually even life here. So, you can Oasis Respite. That will block it. And now Alexander just has the vanilla of, I believe this one's 4 damage. Just a 4 damage attack. You know, it is threatening lethal. PJ probably has to give up 2 cards in his hand. Yep, gonna give up the last 2 cards in his hand. Now, all Alexander has to do is find a red Go Again card. Now, last hand didn't have it. What are the chances of not having another Go Again card? Red Go Again specifically. I think we don't have another one again. I do see the Transmogrify. We are going to pitch for Transmogrify, making our next attack a base 7. I believe that is the yellow Transmogrify. So, and unfortunately, unfortunately that PJ did not have the ability. Oh, it might have been a red Transmogrify, actually. Yep, just making it so he can swing with all those Ashwings. All those Ashwings going to come in for way too much damage that PJ can block. And another Dromai takes another game on a Fi. Maybe the Fi in Seal just isn't as strong as we thought. It's possible. These Dromais have really put in the work. You know, both of them have gone down to 1. It could have gone either way. The Dromais have been able to pull it out. That being said, I'm going to give my voice a little bit of a rest before the final round of Swiss, round number 4, and then we're going to jump right into a draft. If you guys haven't already, please share the stream around. And if you are local to the Haven Games, check us out. And if you're not, they ship all across America, and you can get 10% off any Fab singles using the promo code TEAMACG at thehaventabletop.com. They are a bunch of good people that work here. I know the owners personally. They are awesome people. They just want to see the game grow, and they're willing to give out that promo code, help you guys out, save some money. And that being said, we are going to go to the Be Right Back screen right before round number 4. Welcome to round number 4 and the final round of Swiss here at the Haven Games Skirmish 4-round event into a top 8 draft. Looks like we actually have another Fi and Dromai matchup. This has actually been, no Icelanders and Swiss. I think there was only like 1 or 2. But it's really nice to actually have, not just Fi mirrors all day long. And to actually get, really, other than the first round, I think we had no mirrors. So just Fi and Dromai going at it again. Brother and sister. I think half brother and sister for those that have read the lore, gone into it. A couple cool playmats in the background too. We do have the Levia playmat and the Dromai playmat. Super awesome arts. Really excited to see exactly who wins this game. We have seen Dromai actually take 2 of the last games that were this matchup. This is the last round of Swiss before we head into a top 8 draft. So it looks like we're going to start with a Searing Strike on Dawson's side from the Fi. Ryan gonna block that with a 3 damage, 3 block. Block all 3 of it. So not too much happened on Dawson's side that turn. He is going to draw back up. I do see what looked like a red flex, which could matter against Ryan if he does summon a dragon that does have, any dragon will have Phantasm. So that red flex could definitely pop a card. Oh, yeah. Ryan starting with the 1 damage attack into a 4 damage Blaze Headlong. 4 damage Blaze Headlong, putting in so much work in today's sealed tournament. We actually see Dawson is going to block and actually buff the Brothers in Arms. But that is a red Brothers in Arms. Could have been used to pop a dragon, but Ryan really hasn't been coming in with dragons too much. We do see the Burn Away. Burn Away is a really strong card that I did not give too much credit to. It is a 2 damage attack. It says if you banish a Phoenix Flame from your graveyard as an additional cost, it does gain 2 more damage and go again. And I do believe it's free, so 4 damage, go again for the low cost of banishing a Phoenix Flame. And of course, Dromai does have access to those Phoenix Flames as well. I really like the way they did that mechanic. The brother and sister both they share traits from each other. They can both play Phoenix Flames. So Ryan is ahead by 5 life going into Dawson's turn. Dawson doesn't look like he has too much going on. He doesn't have a lot of go again cards in his hand. I do see a flex. Looks like he's going to have to either pitch into the flex, maybe play that card in Arsenal. So back to the game, Ryan was able to actually play a Dunebreaker Cenopai, 4 damage and go again, and then into a Fiendel's Fighting Spirit. This is just the blue Fiendl's Fighting Spirit, so it's only coming in for 5, but, you know, it's not the worst card still at blue. You know, if you were losing and you attack or defend with Fiendl's Fighting Spirit, it will gain you a life. So, you know, even though the blue one doesn't get as much love because it's not a 6 attack to pop Phantasm, still nothing to scoff at. So now Dawson really having to decide exactly how he wants to block this. He still has 4 cards in hand and the card in arsenal. What is he going to decide to do? He does have to decide whether or not he wants to block 5 damage. If he does take this 5, he goes down to 6, and that is not a great place you want to be as the 5 player. You know, going down to 6, if you were threatening lethal next turn, wouldn't feel too bad. The issue is that if you go down to 6 and you aren't able to threaten lethal next turn and your opponent is, you're going to have to start giving up cards. And, of course, every card you get out of 5's hand is worth quite a bit. So 5 damage is a lot. Looks like we're going to block with the flex. Actually block 2, take 3, go to 8. So now on Dawson's turn, he has to try to do at least 7 to catch up. Starts off pitching that Lava Vein Loyalty, coming in for 4 damage and go again. Interesting to see if Ryan, how much he decides to block with this huge life lead. The Mounting Anger coming in for 4 damage, and if it hits, you can banish a card with cost less than the number of Draconic Chainlinks you control, and if you do, it gains +1. So this one actually being a rare makes sense, because even if you start with it, you can banish something like a Phoenix Flame, you can banish something like a Brand with Cinderclaw, and it actually will get that +1 damage buff. We're actually going to see Ryan block with the Quelling Robe and actually block with another card. So a little bit out of order of operations there. Quell is actually a replacement effect for damage, but it doesn't really matter. It's going to block 4 here. Block all 4 from the Mounting Anger into a Phoenix Flame for 1. That Phoenix Flame is coming in for 1 damage. Ryan will probably take this if I had to guess, or he might just Quell again. Yeah, it looks like he is going to Quell one more time. So it looks like Dawson decided to pop his gloves there, maybe to make it a 2 attack. Yep, so Ryan's going to take 1. Go to 14. Dawson going to use the last resource that he has available to him. Pick up the Phoenix Flame. Come in for another 2 damage. And Ryan going to Quell 1 and take 1 more again. Looks like that Quell is putting in quite a bit of work just for 1 pitch. 1 card, able to stop. You know, a lot of these go wide turns, one of the hardest ways to stop them is that if you were blocking them traditionally, you have to give up an entire card. But Quell allows you to pitch 1 blue and kind of, you know, block those go wide turns. I remember when Quell was new, people were saying it's so good for those go wide turns that maybe even something like Prism or Viscerai with the Rune Chant, something like that, where people were thinking about even playing it if the other effect on the Quell was good enough on the piece of gear that had Quell. I know in Dromai I'm definitely playing the arm piece quite a bit, because just giving you a way to pitch for pitch a red for Ash tokens can really be helpful. And so we see Ryan actually summon invoke an Asvalai here. Asvalai has an effect where he does, on attack, deal 1 arcane damage to up to 2 targets. Well, there's only 1 target for Ryan to hit, so that is going to be Dawson himself. And so it's coming in for what I believe is at least 1 arcane and I think 2 damage physical. Yeah, Ryan, go ahead and mark that arcane for me with a blue die. So that is 1 arcane and 2 physical. We are going to see Dawson use the arcane barrier on the boots to block the arcane and then quell 1. Ryan just going to pass. So Dawson only having to give up 1 card there. And we see the Rising Resentment coming in for 4 damage. It actually is going to hit the Asvalai. That does trigger the Rising Resentment, but I think this is the resource one. So he can only banish a 0 anyway, so it's not going to help him too much. But he does clear the Asvalai, which is very important. Then we have the Phoenix Flame coming in for 1 more damage. Just going to see if Ryan chooses to stop it. Ryan says, no, I'm taking the 1 all day. We see Dawson coming in with the Phoenix or Searing Emberblade. That is his 3rd Draconic Chain Link in a row. Ryan going to block with a Stoke the Flames, and then we see Dawson actually pick up the final Phoenix Flame that he's going to attack with from his from his grave. Swing 1 more. Ryan going to take the 1. We are tied at 7. Ryan actually has the Sweeping Blow, going to come in for 3 damage. Does create an Ash. Again, Ash generation just so important for Ryan. He didn't have much going. He didn't have any going into this turn. And Ash is a key piece for this Dromai list to actually continue its game plan and continue what it wants to do. Dawson going to go ahead and take 3 here. Go down to 4. Ryan had another Stoke the Flames here. Is coming in for 4. Not sure if he has a Phoenix Flame in grave if this does hit. So if Ryan has a Phoenix Flame in his grave, he will be able to pick that up on hit and actually have go again on the Stoke the Flames. Already threatening lethal here. We are going to block with the Ronin Renegade. No, it's not Ronin Renegade. But yeah, we are going to block with the attack. Block 2. Go to 2. Ryan did not have a Phoenix Flame to pick up. So no go again. No extra Phoenix Flame. And now it's a big ask for Dawson to try to really put on some pressure here. Gonna banish a Phoenix Flame with the burn away. 4 damage and go again. Again, I think this card does not get enough credit in the limited format for either hero, Fi or Dromai. But banishing the Phoenix Flame, getting 4 damage and go again. Already putting on some pressure on Ryan. 2 more cards that Ryan has to deal with. And the Searing Emberblade most likely. And maybe a Phoenix Flame. Ryan gonna use a Sand Cover. Sand Cover is a 4 damage, or I'm sorry, it's a 4 ward card. Basically turns an Ash into a ward 4. So it will stop the next 4 damage you take. Now, an interesting thing to note that if you're playing anything that can ping 1, you can actually kind of bait that out and try to ping the 4 ward off. But Dawson not having any of it. It's gonna do a Scar Fur, Scar Red for 4 damage and go again. Go again because he is lower on life. Dawson really trying to put on pressure and wants to make sure Ryan does not have a big turn next turn. Ryan does not have another Sand Cover, nor does he have any Ash left. That Ash was pretty important to block some of the damage, but now that he has no Ash, it looks like he does, but Ryan's been marking that Ash with a die. And right now, he has no die on that Ash. He has no Ash whatsoever. So, Ryan may be looking at just taking 4 here and seeing what else Dawson has up his sleeve. Another thing that's scary is Dawson could have some of those attack reactions to maybe buff this, but not the case. Just going to see a pitched card for a Searing Emberblade for 3 damage. This is threatening lethal on Ryan, and we're probably going to see a Phoenix Flame get picked up after this. Ryan actually going to block with an Uprising here. Oh, unfortunately for Dawson, the second attack was not Draconic, so he will not have the resources to pick up the Phoenix Flame. Ryan has a red Rake the Embers, and this could be pretty devastating for Dawson. If he has a pop, though, he could get on the other side of this. And Ryan does not have any cards in hand, so luckily for Dawson, he just will have to give up one card. Ryan coming in with 1 damage on a dragon. Dawson could take this one, block the next one, and actually have a pretty decent turn. Another thing Dawson could do is he could also Helios Miter should he choose to. He doesn't have to, but if he was worried about decking out in any way or getting low on cards, he still does have the Helios Miter available to him. He might not want to give up that many resources though, but he should only have to block one of these. Ryan does not have any Ash, could not do any tricks with the Silken form. Does not have the Ash for that. For those of you just joining, Ryan does mark his Ash with a die, so he does not have that Ash token that's on board. So Ryan only has 1 Ash Wing that's going to threaten lethal here. Dawson really just having to decide how does he want to have his next turn play out. He should, again, only have to give up 1 card here to stay alive at 1. Let's talk about what would happen here. So the dragon does have go again. There is going to be another dragon swing for 1. Dawson will drop to at least 1 life here if I had to guess. He could, in theory, block 2 dragons, but I don't see the point of doing that. I think at this point for Dawson, you just have to run into Dromite's face as much as possible. You have to put on that damage, see if you can get through, make them block with as many cards, make their hands really bad. To where they can't swarm you with those dragons. And maybe even have a pop of your own. You can actually, stop those dragons attacking you. See a block with a Ronin Renegade. Dawson going to take 1, do exactly what I thought, where block 1, take 1, have 3 cards in hand. It's going to be on Ryan to actually survive this turn. Every card in Ryan's hand is going to, or every attack over 3 is going to force a card out of Ryan's hand one way or the other. We see Dawson actually pitch the Brand with Cinderclaw into the Stoke the Flames. If Ryan were to allow this to hit, it would have go again, but you're actually giving Ryan a bit of a window here, because if Ryan does block this, then the turn ends. There's no, oh, well, I guess, never mind. There, we still do have Tide Flippers. We can still give this go again. Maybe that's something that he is trying to bait Ryan out a little bit. Ryan really looking at the Stoke the Flames, making sure he wants to block with the right cards. Does not want to let this hit. Does not want to give it the free go again. Wants to make Dawson actually use the Tide Flippers. We're actually going to see Ryan block with the Dust Up into a Silken Form Quell. That will grant Ryan an Ash. And right now, the Dust Up does not have, so that did not have go again. And we chose not to give it go again with the Tide Flippers. And unfortunately for Dawson, though, he does actually have Arcane Barrier. Ryan does have the Asvalai. He's going to have to give up 2 cards here. He's going to have to pitch for the Arcane Barrier and block with a card. So we are going to block, but Ryan is reminding them that we do have an arcane amount coming in, so I'd imagine he's going to pick a pretty high value card that maybe he can Helios Miter with as well. Yep, we are going to pitch a yellow for that, so now we actually have some dragons coming in. Looks like we're going to probably strip the last two cards out of Dawson's hand.